in 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt, FDR, became the President of the United States. He became president in the midst of the most severe banking crisis the country had ever faced. After the great crash in 1929, more than 6,000 American banks had failed and closed. Every day, millions of Americans were lining up at the remaining banks to withdraw their savings before their banks also became bankrupt. During the previous 3 years, every economic policy initiative thought to be relevant had been applied, but failed to stem collapse of the system. FDR had studied the principles of economics at Harvard. He knew that those principles of economics were inadequate to stem the crisis. He understood that the collapse of the system was the result of subjective factors that could not be addressed at the institutional or policy level. So, FDR addressed the American people on radio. He explained to them that all the objective factors that had made America prosperous were still present. The objective factors such as the rich natural resources, hardworking people, huge industrial infrastructure, and continental markets were all still present. FDR told them that the real problem was not with any objective factor. The problem was with the subjective factor. It was their own loss of self-confidence and faith in America. He appealed to their courage and national pride. During that week, legislation was passed instituting insurance on bank deposits and other safeguards. FDR asked people to return to their banks on the following Monday and redeposit their money. Once again, long lines grew in front of the banks. But this time, most of the people had come to redeposit their money. The problem was solved. America was not saved by the objective factors. The subjective factors saved the country. The reality of the subjective dimension in economics can clearly be seen in this case. We are living in a world full of conceptual systems created by mind. Different types of economic systems, political organizations, religions, philosophies, and scientific theories are all examples of conceptual systems, or paradigms created by mind. A paradigm or a conceptual framework or a conceptual system is a distinct set of mental concepts or thought patterns, including theories, research methods, principles, and standards for what constitutes legitimate contribution to the field. We think in the forms of thoughts, ideas, concepts, and facts. Organization of the facts and coordination of them generate thoughts. Organization of the thoughts and coordination of them generate ideas. Organization of the ideas and coordination of them generate conceptual system. A conceptual system contains both subjective and objective elements. It is founded not only on external objective facts, but also on subjective factors such as conscious and subconscious values, perspectives, and rules that process the external facts. In FDR's example, rich natural resources, hard-working people, and man-made industrial infrastructures are the objective factors in the economic system. Faith, trust, confidence, and courage of the people are the subjective factors in the economic system. Both are needed for a successful system. However, in many conceptual systems, Only the objective factors are taken into account, as the policymakers did before FDR was elected. Every conceptual system has the laudable aim, admirable aspiration to construct a system that would put man in touch with the perfect reality. But being a product of mind, the system is limited by its own elements, characteristics, faculties, and properties. What happens when the elements of a conceptual system are taken for granted as true? For example, Newton said that the absolute time and space are independent aspects of objective reality. His concepts of absolute time and space provided a theoretical foundation for Newtonian mechanics. Later, his idea was challenged by other scientists. When Rodolfo said many still use Newtonian methods, I believe he was referring to the situations where scientific assumptions are taken to be true. In many cases, mind mistakes the system or just an aspect of or an effect of the system for reality itself. For example, stock market bull run in 1929 was mistaken for a booming economy. The decision to withdraw deposits from bank was mistaken by American people for wise financial decision, which was actually leading the country towards disaster. The thought economic growth means prosperity is a good example of a limited truth mistaken for reality. Today, we have growth combined with increasing inequality and environmental problems. They undermine the current living standards and future potential standards of millions or maybe billions of people. Growth resulting from speculation may be a formula for future disaster, as in 1929 and in 2008. The modern world is influenced by modern science. The initial concentration of modern science on physical nature was justified as a logical choice and practical necessity. The study of physical nature is the study of inanimate objects and subconscious life forms. They can only be observed objectively in the external environment, since we have no access to their subjective intentions or self-experience. The scientist positioned himself as an objective witness standing outside of nature rather than as an involved participant in the world he observes. Gradually, the notion of objectivity as the study of external objects merged with the different notion of objectivity as the absence of distorting personal preferences. The two different notions of objectivity came to be regarded as one and the same thing. This led eventually to the philosophical premise that reality consists solely of objects that can be studied objectively, and by extension that all subjective phenomena are secondary results of external causes. The word subjectivity also has two meanings, which have gradually become conjoined. Subjectivity is the psychological field of conscious human experience that is not directly accessible to external observation. Only its behavioral expressions can be observed by others. This is the first meaning. Subjectivity is also used to mean subjective factors contributed by the observer, such as preconceived notions, traditional beliefs, and superstitions prevalent at that time. In its quest for impartial knowledge of physical objects in the world around, the modern science naturally sought to eliminate this distorting influence. So the idea of subjectivity as the psychological experience of a conscious individual came to be regarded as an unscientific and unacceptable form of evidence. The modern science seeks to discover the truth by the exclusive study of physical factors that can be observed by physical senses and measured by material instruments. In the process of entire subjective dimensions of reality, the dimension which distinguishes human beings from all other species was subordinated to the objective dimension observable by the senses. Eventually, it resulted in philosophical, scientific, social, and economic efforts to reduce all non-physical phenomena solely to the physical causes. The hesitation to accept the subjective factors along with the objective factors is a limitation to any system. The failure of the policy makers before FDR can be attributed to their rejection of subjective elements. The old saying that I will believe it when I see it acquired the status of scientific dogma, even when applied to aspects of reality beyond the reach of the senses. History is full of examples of great heroes that believed it even when they did not see it. What Roosevelt did in 1933 may suffice to illustrate it. Thank you.